Welcome on board, chosen one. Look who finally stepped into the light. You felt it before you even pressed play. Something in you already knew this message was waiting, not because you searched for it, because it found you. That is not coincidence. That is the universe doing what it does when it has decided your moment has arrived. Now let's be precise about where you are right now. There is a tension sitting in your chest that you have been carrying quietly. Not panic, not grief. Something more like the feeling before a storm breaks. That strange, weighted stillness where the air goes thick and nothing moves. You have been reading the room around you and noticing that people who used to speak freely in front of you have started measuring their words. Eyes that used to look past you now track you when you walk in. Some of them smile too quickly, others go silent in a way that is not comfortable for them. You noticed. You said nothing. Good. That silence you feel pressing in from the outside, that is not peace. That is fear, their fear. And it is radiating outward because something in your energy shifted and they cannot explain it. And what people cannot explain, they cannot control. And what they cannot control, they start to fear. They said you were nothing. They said you were too slow, too quiet, too much in your own world to ever matter. They handed you labels like consolation prizes, difficult, unrealistic, too sensitive for the real world. Some of them laughed in rooms you were not in. Some of them made decisions about your ceiling without asking you. Some of them looked at you with that particular brand of pity that people wear when they have already buried someone in their minds. Oh, the legend needs to bow. That was the script they wrote for you. Bow to the timeline they designed. Bow to the box they built. And yet here you are, upright, unbowed, standing in a place their version of you was never supposed to reach. Something changed, not loudly, it never is. There was no announcement, no dramatic moment that anyone outside of you could point to, but the universe shifted its weight in your direction and quietly, without ceremony, began clearing a path. The unseen started working in the hours when you were too tired to perform, too worn down to pretend. It moved in the silence you thought was abandonment. What looked like delay was calibration. What looked like loss was excavation. The universe had other plans, and those plans required a version of you that the easy road could never have produced. So it built you the hard way, and now the architecture of what is coming requires exactly the person you had to become. Before we go deeper, stop right here and hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Do not do it as a favor. Do it to pay this message back into the universe. Every time you signal that something reached you, you send a current back out into the unseen that says, I received it. I am ready for more. That is how this works. That is your entrance fee for what comes next in this briefing. Now back to the truth. What is actually happening around you right now is not random. Someone or something is being sent in your direction. Not to test you the way your past tests did. This is different. This is the universe delivering on a debt it has been accumulating on your behalf through every moment you held your composure, when you had every reason to collapse, every time you stayed precise when the world around you was messy, every time you refused to leak your power into a reaction that would have cost you your position. That restraint was currency. It has been building interest. And now the offer coming toward you carries a weight that matches everything you quietly invested. You are not chasing this. It is moving toward you. The only question is whether you are still enough to receive it without flinching, without grabbing at it, without breaking the calm that made you magnetic in the first place. This is not just a video. It is a blueprint. It is the truth they hoped you would never sit still long enough to hear. Because if you understand what is actually being orchestrated around you, you stop being reactive. You stop being manageable. You become the one reading the room instead of being read by it. Drop 777 in the comments right now. Not superstition. A signal. A declaration to the universe that you are locked in, that you are present, that you are the kind of chosen one who completes what they start. 777. Send it. If you are truly one of the chosen ones, you already feel that pull to stay until the very last second of this. Do not fight it. That pull is information. We're about to break this down, movement by movement, truth by truth. Every layer of what is coming, who is coming, and exactly how you receive it without losing yourself in the process. Stay close. Let's begin. The kind of intelligence that makes them back away slowly. They could not name what you had, so they decided you had nothing. Here is the first truth you need to hold. The underestimation you endured was never a verdict. It was a miscalculation made by people who confused your restraint with limitation. They looked at your stillness and saw vacancy. They looked at your stillness and heard surrender. What they could not perceive, because they were not built to perceive it, was that you were operating on a frequency they had no instrument to measure. And what cannot be measured gets dismissed. That dismissal was the best thing that ever happened to you. Think of a blade being folded in a forge. Every time it is struck, every time it is bent back into itself under extreme heat, it is not being destroyed. It is being made more precise, more resilient, more terrifyingly sharp than it could ever have become without that exact pressure. The people who applied pressure to you believed they were breaking you down. They were, in fact, finishing you. Every time you were underestimated, you were being folded. Every time someone decided your ceiling without your permission, the universe added another layer to the edge you were building in the dark. Precision is not loud. They wanted you to perform your intelligence so they could categorize it, contain it, decide how much of it made them comfortable. You refused, not out of stubbornness but out of instinct. Something in you already understood that showing everything you carry to people who plan to use it against you is not openness. It is waste. You might wonder why the people around you seem more unsettled now, not less, even though you have not done anything overtly different. Here is the answer. Calm is confrontational. When you stop reacting to the room has to start reacting to you. Your stillness became a mirror, and some of them do not like what they see reflected back. Certain people in your circle began circling more carefully, choosing their words with unusual precision in your presence. It is because at some level beneath their conscious thought, they registered the shift. They felt the frequency change. They cannot explain it, so they are managing it. Let them manage. You are not here to be manageable. What looked like your weakness was the universe building your leverage. What looked like your ceiling was simply their imagination, and you have already moved above it. The silence that turned pressure into power. Silence is not passive, it is architecture. There is a particular kind of power that only becomes available to you the moment you stop performing for the room. Not withdrawal, not coldness, not the brittle quiet of someone who has given up. The silence you carry now is something entirely different. It is the silence of someone who has already made decisions the room does not know about yet. It is the silence of a person who understands that every word carelessly released is a card shown, a position surrendered, a piece of leverage handed freely to people who were always calculating how to use it. Picture a storm cloud building over open water. The surface beneath it is flat, almost glassy, and that stillness is not the absence of energy. It is the concentration of it. Everything is gathering, organizing, compressing itself into something that when it finally moves cannot be argued with, cannot be redirected, cannot be ignored. That is what your silence has been doing, not waiting. Accumulating. Anger is loud. Closure is efficient. The ones who screamed their frustration at you, who made speeches about your limitations, who needed you to hear how little they thought of you, they spent that energy. It is gone. You held yours. The gap between what they spent and what you retained is now the gap between where they are and where you are going. Stillness under pressure is not acceptance. It is calculation. The person who does not react when provoked is not the person who has no response. They are the person whose response is too precise, too final, to waste on a moment that has not yet earned it. You are not withholding because you have nothing. You are not withholding because you have nothing. You are withholding because you know exactly what you have and you understand the value of timing. Think of a river carving its path through stone. The river does not argue with the stone. It does not meet resistance with a matching force. It simply continues. Quietly, persistently, without ceremony or announcement, it cuts a channel through something that believed itself immovable. That is what your sustained stillness has been doing to every obstacle placed in front of you. Not force. Continuity. Silence is not passive, it is pressure. And the pressure has been building in your favor for longer than they realize. How they exposed themselves without knowing it. They panicked quietly, and you watched every move. What most people miss when they are being observed is that observation runs in both directions. While they were watching you for signs of instability, for cracks they could point to, for the moment your composure finally broke in a way that would confirm their original assessment. You were watching them, and what you saw was this. People under the pressure of someone they cannot control do not stay still. They move, they adjust, they reposition themselves in the room. And every adjustment was information. Imagine a chessboard mid-game. One player is calm, unhurried, giving away nothing. The other is scanning the board with a frequency that has shifted from strategy into something closer to anxiety. That anxiety produces moves made not from vision, but from reaction. Reactive moves expose intention. Exposed intention surrenders the advantage. The players around you have been making reactive moves for longer than they would ever admit. And you have been registering each one. Notice the way certain people began checking in on you with an unusual consistency. Not because they care more than they did, but because they need to know where you are on the map. Notice the ones who started referencing your name in rooms where they used to pretend you did not exist. That is not admiration yet. That is reconnaissance. They are trying to locate you, trying to determine how much ground you have taken while their backs were turned, trying to decide whether the person standing in front of them is still the version they had categorized and dismissed. You are not moving based on what they fear. You are moving based on what the universe has already cleared. That is not the same thing. Watching the room is not paranoia when the room is genuinely reorganizing itself around you. It is intelligence. It is the natural awareness of someone who has learned that the environment communicates constantly to those who are quiet enough to receive it. By the time they feel threatened, you are already ungovernable. That is the sequence. First comes the unease they cannot name, then comes the monitoring, then comes the slow and uncomfortable realization that whatever window they believed they had has already closed. The opportunity to define you passed. The opportunity to contain you passed. What remains is the reality that you have been becoming something they no longer have the authority to categorize. Their exposure is not your entertainment, it is your confirmation. The universe uses their reaction as a signal to you that the calibration was accurate, the timing was precise, and the arrival is imminent. The universe moving pieces you cannot see yet. The delay was never abandonment. It was construction. There is a particular kind of patience the universe demands from the people it has chosen for something larger than what their current circumstances could contain. It is not the patience of waiting passively by a door. It is the patience of a skyscraper being built floor by floor in the dark, while the street level around it shows nothing but scaffolding, dust, and the suggestion of obstruction. To the person walking past on the ground, it looks like disruption with no visible return. To the architect, every beam placed in the dark is load-bearing for something the ground level cannot yet see. Think about what the universe was actually doing during the periods you interpreted as silence. Every connection it needed to position in your proximity was being moved. Every circumstance that had to shift before the right door could open was being adjusted. The person being sent in your direction right now did not simply appear. They were routed. Their own detours, their own recalibrations, their own seasons of loss and reconstruction were all part of the same orchestration that was working on your behalf. You were not the only one being prepared. The universe was preparing the offer and the carrier of that offer simultaneously. Here is what actually occurred during the stretches that felt like nothing was happening. You were being made specific, not general. Specific. The thing the universe is delivering cannot be received by a generalized version of you. It requires the person you became in the difficult seasons, the one who learned to trust a direction without a map, the one who stayed precise when imprecision would have been far easier. That specificity took time to build. The investment matches the return. What looked like loss was excavation. Every time the universe removed something that was not meant for the trajectory you were on, it was not subtracting from you. It was clearing weight that would have slowed the arrival. The relationships that ended, the opportunities that fell through, the rooms where the door closed before you could enter. Not punishment. Engineering. Timing is everything when the universe decides to move. And it does not ask whether you are comfortable with the schedule. It asks whether you are ready for the weight of what it has built for you. The answer, based on what you have already carried, is yes. Why you became impossible to buy and impossible to break. They tried every lever, none of them held. There is a version of you they needed in order to maintain control over your story. That version could be flattered into compliance or frightened into retreat. It could be offered just enough to stay small, just enough comfort to stop reaching, just enough approval to redirect its energy toward pleasing the room instead of changing it. They tried to access that version. Some of them tried with warmth. Some of them tried with pressure. Some alternated between the two, attempting to find the frequency that would make you manageable again. What they encountered instead was someone who had already moved past the place where those tools had purchased. Picture an iceberg observed from the surface. What is visible is composed, deliberate, almost serene. What sits beneath the waterline is so vast, so deep, so structurally massive that the ships that tried to redirect it by pushing against its surface eventually understood that what they were pushing against its surface eventually understood that what they were pushing against was not the obstacle. It was the foundation. You cannot move a foundation with surface pressure. And you are no longer surfeit. Unbreakable is not the absence of feeling. Let that settle. The people who tried to break you made the mistake of confusing emotional depth with structural weakness. You felt everything they aimed at you. The dismissal landed, the exclusion registered, the quiet condescension found its mark, and then something in you processed it, metabolized it, converted into data rather than damage. That is not numbness. That is the particular architecture of someone the universe has been reinforcing from the inside out for years. Certain offers, certain invitations, certain relationships that looked appealing from the outside left you cold when they finally arrived. Because at a level beneath conscious reasoning, you could feel the string attached. The universe had already calibrated your instincts to recognize leverage disguised as opportunity. That calibration is protection. It is also selection. Only what is genuinely aligned with where you are going can hold your attention now, and that narrows the field in your favor. You cannot be bought because your currency is not what they are offering. You cannot be broken because the version of you they were trying to fracture no longer exists. What stands in its place is someone built for precisely this moment, this offer, this arrival. What is being sent toward you was designed for someone the old pressures could not have produced. The moment they realized they were already too late. Regret is not always spoken, sometimes it just looks like watching. There is a specific kind of silence that falls over a room when the people in it realize simultaneously that a calculation they made a long time ago was wrong. Not wrong in a small way, wrong in the way that alters the entire landscape of what they believed was possible. You have seen that silence. Maybe not in its full form yet, but you have felt the early pressure of it. The ones who wrote the script about your ceiling are beginning to see the ceiling crumble from the inside. And the particular thing about watching someone defy the box you built for them is that you cannot pretend you did not build it. Imagine a wolf raised among dogs. For a long time it moved within the parameters the environment set, not because it agreed with them, but because the season called for patience. And then something shifted. The wolf did not announce the shift, did not make a speech, did not settle old scores, did not perform its revelation for the benefit of those who had underestimated it. It simply moved differently, and everyone in the room felt it. Not in their minds first, in their bodies. In the sudden alertness that precedes understanding, the room reorganized itself, not because the wolf demanded it, but because the room recognized something it could not control and adjusted accordingly. That adjustment is happening around you right now. Not all of it is visible. Some of it is private, interior, happening in the quiet of people's thoughts when they allow themselves to be honest. The ones who spoke about you with dismissal are now revising their internal narrative. That revision is not comfortable for them. Revision never is. It requires admitting that what they perceived was not the full picture, that the intelligence they categorized was operating on a dimension they were not tracking, that the slow, quiet person they overlooked was, in fact, the one moving the board. Here is the precise answer to whether any of this matters now. It changes nothing for your direction and everything for your confirmation. Their recognition is not your fuel. You moved without it, but it is evidence. It is the universe reflecting back to you in the behavior of people around you that what has been orchestrated is real, is measurable, and is already producing effects in the physical world. Too late is not a cruelty. It is simply the arithmetic of timing. They had their window. The window required a different version of them. They did not arrive as that version. And now the offer, the arrival, the major shift the universe has been routing toward you is no longer theirs to intercept. The coronation that needed no ceremony. You did not arrive loudly. You arrived completely. This is the part of the story that most people never get to narrate from the inside, because most people abandon the process before the universe finishes the construction. They exit in the waiting season. They renegotiate their own worth downward when the delay extends past their comfort. They take the smaller offer because the weight of holding out for what was actually meant for them begins to feel like arrogance rather than accuracy. You did not do that. Whatever version of that exit the universe presented to you, you declined it. That refusal is the signature on the arrangement. That is the thing the universe reads as readiness. Picture a prism sitting in a dark room. For a long time, nothing about it suggests what it is capable of. It sits still, unremarkable from the outside, giving nothing away. And then the light arrives, and in an instant, the prism does what it was built to do. It takes a single beam and spreads it into something vast, something luminous, something that fills the room with more color and range than any single ray could have suggested. The prism did not become different when the light arrived. It revealed what it had always been. That is what is about to happen to you. Not a revelation. A revelation, the universe does not send the offer until the recipient has already demonstrated the stability required to receive it. The offer arriving is itself the confirmation that you are ready. It is not a question you need to answer. It is a conclusion the universe has already drawn, based on everything you moved through to arrive here. Something is already in motion that cannot be reversed. The person or opportunity being sent in your direction has already been routed. The path has already been cleared. What is coming carries the specific weight of everything you refused to trade away during the seasons when trading away felt like the only option left. Your integrity during those seasons, your refusal to become something smaller for the sake of someone else's comfort, your decision, made quietly and without an audience, to remain exactly who you were built to be, even when that decision cost you. All of it was currency. All of it is now being honored. The ones who watched for your collapse will instead witness your emergence. Not as a performance for their benefit, but simply as the natural conclusion of a sequence that was always going to arrive here. You did not fight your way to this. You held your position until the position elevated. You stayed precise. You stayed still. You refused to be reduced. And the universe, which keeps perfect accounts, has been moving pieces on your behalf in every dimension you could not see, arranging the convergence that is now close enough for you to feel in your chest. This is not the beginning of your story. It is the beginning of the chapter they were never supposed to see. And it is already written, and now we close this, not loudly, not emotionally, calmly, completely. You were never an exception. You were an outcome. Every season that felt like it was working against you was working on you. Every silence that felt like abandonment was the universe in the middle of construction. Every person who underestimated you handed the universe the exact raw material it needed to build the version of you that is standing here now. The outcome was never in question, only the timing. But what the universe revealed to you tonight was only the first seal. Pinned beneath this video, there is a deeper path waiting for you. Not a book, not a course, not a document. It is a living blueprint that listens to you before it speaks. Before it opens, you will answer a few quiet questions only a chosen one could answer truthfully. And what you receive is shaped, sealed, and breathing only for the soul you are right now. No two chosen ones receive the same path. Yours is already being prepared as you breathe. Tap the pinned comment. The universe is waiting on the other side. If this met you where you are, drop a simple yes in the comments. Share it with someone the universe sent you to reach. If this hit where it was supposed to hit, lock it in.